Okay, this is a huge tag and it gets heavy in places, so buckle up. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if this is your first time. If this is your first time and you're watching this video, then you're going to find out loads about me, and then, I don't know, maybe it'll make you want to subscribe, or maybe you're like, well, this is a bit full on, and you just bugger off, I don't know. But if this isn't your first time, then you may know me a little bit. And this is a tag that's been created by Lekden from Reading from the Depths. And it's a huge tag. This has got every possible question you could possibly have in a tag about a person rather than a bunch of books. So I am very proud and honoured to be part of our little corner of BookTube. So because of that, most of the videos that go on my channel are book related videos, but this is a tag that's about the person behind these videos. So this is about me, and what Lekden's done is created this enormous amount of questions, prompts that we would answer honestly. And I may struggle to answer some of these because I'm going to be as honest as I can, and I want to, by being honest, I want to talk about some stuff that might upset me. So we'll see how we get on. So he's got this tag which is called the My Life in Genre tag, and he's basically got lots of different genres of fiction, like horror, fantasy, science fiction, non-fiction, poetry, and basically he's created prompts about us as people from that. He's also created some extra questions. There's about 3 for each three subgenre questions for each question, and there's like tons and tons of questions. And what I've decided to do, in honor of the effort he's put into making the questions, I'm going to take one question that's within the question, so one subgenre question as well as a question. Okay, let's tackle this. Sometimes some of this is going to get quite serious. Some of it isn't as serious. So we'll see how we get on. Right, so the first genre is horror, and the main prompt is what scares you. So I've written down 3 things that scare me, and one of them's a basic kind of instinctual thing, but the other 2 are quite serious. So one of them is dying suddenly. I don't want to die suddenly. When I die, we're all going to die, and when I die, I don't want it to be sudden. I want to have some warning. I think I want to just say goodbye to people before I die. So that's one of the things I'm scared of. I don't want to die suddenly. Also, letting my kids down. I have a very consistent fear of letting my kids down. Not because I have let them down. We've got a fantastic relationship. We're very, very close. But because of my history with my parents, and especially my dad, who literally defined letting people down. He was an absolute monster. So I'm not going to talk too much about what he did in the family, but there's a history of abuse and all sorts of things. And I was very scared of becoming anything like him for many years. And ultimately, I think that's where the fear of letting my kids down comes from. We'll start with the heavy stuff. So letting my kids down is something I'm scared of as well. But then the third thing I was going to mention, which is like actually there's 2. Yeah, there's 2 really. Two elemental things, if you like. One is I am genuinely scared of home invasions, being like a home invasion scenario being real, and I can't watch home invasion scenarios in horror films. I can watch all sorts of things, but I can't watch. I'm quite desensitized to gore and stuff like that. But home invasions, horrible. And I have a very strong fear of fire. I don't like the naked flame. I don't like candles. I have a very strong fear of fire. So there we are. So that's the first bit. But then the other thing, cosmic horror. This is the subgenre question. Cosmic horror, something that you faced. Sorry, I need to find the cosmic horror. What is a time in your life when you faced the unknowable, be it a difficult challenge or a major life decision? It was becoming a dad. So I've already hinted at why it was such a massive, big deal. And I really was scared about becoming a dad. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I love being a dad. But at the time, all I had as a comparison was him. So it freaked me out. But yeah, that was the unknowable. That was something that I rose to the challenge, and straight away, you know, I was utterly devoted to my daughter, who was my first child, and weirdly, actually, I was made redundant the week that she was born, and the way I was made redundant, it was on the agreement I'd be re-employed by the same people a year later. It was really weird, so it was kind of fortuitous that I had the first year with my daughter. So both me and my wife brought her up in that first year with me being at home all the time as well. So that was great. And we've got an awesome relationship, but me and my son have got an awesome relationship as well. So, but that was really scary for me when I was first told that I was going to become a dad. Whew. Wow, start with the heavy stuff. The next thing is science fiction, which is something I love very much. And the general prompt for science fiction is something that you thought you could do, you couldn't do until you did it. Something you thought you couldn't do until you did it. So for that one, I wanted to talk about the novels that I wrote. So I wrote 2 novels, which I didn't think I'd ever be able to do. I'd always admired people that had written novels, always been a reader. And when I wrote my 2 novels, it was on the back of building up my writing from short stories to longer short stories, and then thinking, let's try and write a novel, and then all that sort of stuff. So I'm very proud of the fact I'd done that, and it felt like something I thought I could never do. So that's my response to that one. And then the sub-genre prompt question that I'm picking is space opera, and it's a talk about a memorable moment when you're on vacation. So for this one, I'm going to talk about when I was in Thailand with me and the guy that I formed the band with, Bemis. It was a 5-week gig in Thailand. It was an absolute dream job. It was insane. It was like everything was paid for. Our flights were paid for. All our food and drink was paid for. We got paid at the end of it as well. We had to play 6 nights a week, 4-hour sets every night. And it was just fantastic. It was a brilliant experience. But the first night we were there, we went down to the beach club where we were going to play, met the people that were there, and saw the previous month's act play as well. And then when he'd finished, it was kind of midnight time, and we decided to walk up a mountain. And we walked up this mountain. We'd never been anywhere like Thailand before, so we were just absolutely in awe of the environment and the climate, the smell, the sounds of the place. You know, this sort of beautiful tropical place, and it was late at night, so it just had this glorious feeling about it. And we were so happy. It was you know, just incredible happiness. And we walked up this mountain, and we didn't know where we were going. We didn't know what we were doing. We just walked up this mountain, and then these cars kept going past us, and then cheering us as they drove past. These Thai people were driving past us on this mountain in these trucks, and then one truck stopped next to us and said, "Where are you going?" And we said, "Don't know." And then they said, "We're going to Patong. Do you want to come along?" This was on Phuket. It wasn't mainland Thailand. This was on Phuket. We're going to Patong. Do you want to come? We'd never heard of Patong. We had no idea who these people were. We looked at each other and went, yeah, all right. So we jumped onto the back of the truck and we drove for about 20 minutes in this truck, not having a clue where we were going. It's the most ridiculous thing, but it was an absolute adventure. And we got there and it was clearly like the sort of red light area of Phuket. And, you know, we kind of mooched around there for a bit and then got a tuk-tuk back to our hotel, that 20-minute drive back to the hotel, like an hour later or something. But that was an adventure, and that was just a really funny moment where we just like, yeah, all right, we'll come along. No idea who you are, or where you're going. So there we are. Fantasy. What excites you? Okay. So for this prompt, I'm going to talk about a few things. So meeting up with the band excites me. Whenever I know we're going to have a rehearsal, I get very excited. When I know we've got a gig, I get excited. I love gigging. I love playing music with the band. I love listening to them. I love coming up with arrangements for the songs. I love presenting my songs to them or working on songs that they've written. I love just everything about the actual practical bit of being in the band. I don't like the organisation of trying to get to the gig sometimes, or some of the things you have to fix. You know, sometimes problems arise. Yeah, I don't like that. But being with the band, I love being with the band. Meeting up with friends excites me. I get excited when I'm going to meet up in a social situation with some friends. I love that. And meeting up with booktubers. So that's happened a few times now. So the list is growing of booktubers I'm meeting, which is wonderful. And I'm going to be meeting someone next week, which I'll be telling you about after it's happened. But I'm very excited to meet someone in London next week. So if you're watching, this is going up before we meet. So yeah, this is going to be cool. So I can't wait for that. And next year, I'll be meeting up with two very close American friends as well for the first time. So all very exciting. So I get very excited when I'm meeting up with booktubers as well. And obviously I've met up with MJ. I think I'm going to meet her again soon. And all that kind of thing. So that's the fantasy thing. And then the subgenre question is urban fantasy. What magical ability do you want to have? Okay. This is another heavy one. See if I can answer this one. The magical ability I would want to have is to be able to fly, because I have sorry, I've never talked about this on the channel before. I have constant pain in my feet, and it's the worst thing about my life. And if I could fly, then I wouldn't be in so much pain. So that's why that's the magical ability I would choose, to be able to fly, to stop the pain. And then the next genre is thriller and suspense. What makes you anxious? And for this one, I don't like being rushed. That's what makes me anxious. I don't like being rushed. So if we have to go somewhere and someone's going, come on, we need to leave immediately, and I need to do things really quickly, or I need to pick things up quickly, no doubt I'm going to leave something behind, or I need to sort something out while I was trying to, if I've got to do 3 different things to get ready and somebody's rushing me, I get anxious then, or get a bit stressed then. So yeah, that's really the best answer I've got for that. And then the subgenre question for that is techno thriller. How long would you last without your phone? And I think that's quite a funny question for this tag, because if it was just my phone, it was just using the phone. I don't use it as much as I should at all. I mean, one of the issues that I've had recently, being locked out of Facebook and Messenger because I was hacked, and I have to talk to my family and to the band on WhatsApp. It's really frustrating, because the one thing I don't like about WhatsApp is it's got to be on your phone, and I don't use my phone that much. Whereas Messenger and Facebook, you can get them on any PC, They're easy to use anywhere. But WhatsApp's got to be on your phone, and I don't use it a lot. I don't use my phone that much. So I have to use it more at the moment, but I don't like using it. I like taking photos on it, and I like using it as a phone, but I don't like using it all the time. So I'm a bit different like that. Most people love using their phone, but that's where I sit on that phone thing. So I could be without it for a long time, but I wouldn't want to be out of contact with my family. The next prompt is action adventure, something that you do for fun. So I'm going to talk about a board game that I am going to do a special video on. I'll keep putting it off because I feel like I've given myself a lot of pressure, because it's such an important thing to me that I want to do it well, and I want it to be a video that really works for what I want it to do, and it's quite an organisational, ambitious thing as well. But basically, the board game is Talisman. It's a board game I've had literally all of my life. So I've had it since I was 12, and I've played it all the time since then with all these different people. I've played it with my friends, with my kids, with my wife, with people at work. I've played it with all sorts of different people. In every year that I've lived, I've played it many times, and for a while I was playing almost every day. In my 20s, you know, me and my wife used to play all the time. It's just the most amazing game, and every single game is different. It's so brilliant. It's so clever. It's just a work of genius as far as how to write a board game. I am gonna do a video on it at some point. It's a fantasy-based game, but the way they wrote the rules, there's so many different variations that's what makes it compelling. And the game dynamics can switch with one move, and it's so brilliant. It's so exciting. It's so funny when, you know, another player will do something. You're like, what, you're gonna do that? You know, it's just amazing. So as board games go, there's more agency in the players than you'd normally get in a board game, and there's so much to it. So Talisman is something I do for fun. And there's a subgenre question here, which is what store would you hit up? So this is a reference to looting and sort of disaster kind of action stuff. What store would you hit up? And I thought it'd be funny to talk about Amoeba Music. When I went to LA, I was very excited to go to Amoeba Music, which was advertised as an enormous record shop, and I absolutely loved it. We were in there for an entire afternoon, and I was very happy to literally wander around with 2 baskets and just put anything I wanted in it, and I spent $500, most I've ever spent in one shop, $500 on that day in that shop. And clearly, if I went in there with unlimited funds, I'd buy the whole shop. So yeah, that was a real moment, that was, and I'll never forget it. It was just brilliant, just walking around and just finding absolutely anything I wanted to take and sticking it in the basket. I was like crazy, you know. It was all of my or a big chunk of my spending money gone in one afternoon. The next quote is the next prompt is mystery and crime. What aggravates you? This is a funny one. I don't think anyone will necessarily relate to this, but overly tidy areas. So I'm naturally untidy in the sense that I feel more relaxed if there's stuff around that's not necessarily in a tidy way, and I get more anxious or uncomfortable if things are tidied. So my desk at work has always got stuff all over it, but I know what's there, I know where to find it, it's all good. My computer desk over there is untidy, and sometimes I'll tidy it up because my wife asked me to, but I prefer it untidy. And in general, if I lived on my own, this place would be a lot less tidy because I feel comfortable with stuff around, and I feel less comfortable with it all tucked away without me having access to it. So that aggravates me a little bit when it's overly tidy. And then the subgenre prompt is procedural crime. Do I find sticking to a routine liberating or stifling? If it's a strict routine, I'd find that stifling. I think I can deal with an element of routine. I mean, my timetable at work is very routine, and I quite like the fact I know what I'm doing each time. And I've taught the same course pretty much. There's been a few changes, but the essence of the course has stayed the same for 15 years. So that's clearly a routine for the main course I teach. I teach two different things, but the main course I teach. So that's kind of routine. But I do create an element of spontaneity and loose structure to my day every day, and I do feel more comfortable with that looseness for me personally. The next one is humor. What makes you laugh? Okay, so puns always make me laugh. I love puns. So chuck a pun at me. If you write a comment with a pun, I will smile. So puns always make me laugh. Friends' anecdotes. Sometimes if you hear a friend of yours giving you a long story about what happened to them on the weekend, that's been happening a lot lately with my mate Gary. He's been having a wild life in the last little while, for the best reasons, and he really deserves it because he's had a tough year and he's having a great time at the moment. So some of his anecdotes are really funny. So that's been happening. So love all that. Quoting films, quoting comedy films. That always makes me laugh. I love that. Any conversation when we're quoting Spinal Tap or The Big Lebowski or something, awesome. That always makes me laugh. And just in general, I'll give you a few sets of people that make me laugh. So I love the Muppet stuff. That always makes me laugh, Muppets. I love Monty Python team. I love the Marx Brothers. Like I said, I love Spinal Tap. Taskmaster. I love Taskmaster and it makes me laugh. But I love it. It's one of my favourite programmes on British TV. If you're watching this from Britain, you've probably seen Taskmaster. It's amazing, isn't it? And if you're not from Britain, but you've got access to Taskmaster, watch it. It's so brilliant. So yeah, I'm going to stick that up in this prompt as well. And then the subgenre question is, what? Because it's called anti-humor, and it's this sort of reference to the fact that loads of people like being ironic about everything and only referencing something in an ironic way. And the question is, what do you like unironically? So two answers to that. One is really cheesy 80s science fiction programs. Love them. So Knight Rider and Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers, those kind of things. I love them. I can watch them all day. Love them. Love those kind of things. And for music, I'm going to say something that I think a lot of people would probably be embarrassed about now, but I really love the sound, and I could listen to that more, but I don't. This is something that I had more access to in the past, but I'm going to put it down as a thing that I do love hearing, and that's the Welsh male voice choir. So both my parents were Welsh, and I had that sound in my life when I was really, really young, before he buggered off. But the Welsh male voice choir is a glorious sound. So I do love that sound unironically, even though people might say it's a little bit old-fashioned or something. Romance. What's your love language? So it's funny that this has come up because recently me and my daughter was talking about this, and we reasoned that we thought my love language was people's company. So I didn't even know what that really meant, love language. Well, what are you on about? And then I looked it up, and there's certain types of love language, and for me, people's company is the thing that is the way that I would want to receive and reciprocate love, and that's in their company. So that's the answer to that one. And then the subgenre question is historical romance. No, I can't read that. Hold on, let's find it on here. What is a tradition that has been passed down in your family or friend group that you hold dear? And yeah, I'm actually going to reference my wife's family. She's got a very close family, and she's half Italian, and her Italian side, from her dad's side, has given her this Italian heritage and this sort of pride of being having this Italian side to her family, and I do love that, and I love the fact that she's keeping that tradition and that heritage alive, and telling her kids about it, and you know, our kids love it when we go to Italy. They love it when they meet their cousins, uh, and um, and my wife's uncle and auntie and stuff like that. And they're both learning Italian. And when we have our Christmas roast on Christmas Day, we have lasagna first as part of the tradition that her dad started, and I do love that. And it's something that I hold dear personally, even though it's kind of getting it by proxy. But because me and my wife have been together for so long, I feel like it's kind of my tradition as well, and because I love her so much. Um, so she never watches these videos, so she won't see me saying this. But I do love her so much that the tradition about the Italianness means a lot to me as well. Okay, the next one. Non-fiction. What inspires or motivates you? Right, so I'm going to quote Jim Henson, who's probably the biggest role model in my life, my biggest hero, if you like. And he said, you should always live your life as if the world is better for you being in it, or for you, better for the fact that you were in it, kind of thing. That you've left life with it being better that you're in it. I can't remember the phrasing, but you know what I mean. And to me, that inspires me to make a difference. So there is the next subgenre quote, funnily enough, is about looking inwards, and that's the self-help prompt, which is, can you describe an afternoon of self-help? So I live a 10-minute walk from the beach, and I love the beach. And for me, staring at the sea, listening to the waves, standing on the pebbles, looking out to the sea makes me feel good. It always has done. And when I went through a really dark period in my teenage years, I used to go down there a lot. I used to go down every day, and it used to make me feel better, listening to the waves, listening to the seagulls. I do love the beach. So that's my afternoon of self-help, going to the beach. Okay, next one, the anti-normative fiction. So this is when he's tried to bring, put lots of different transgressive fiction things together into one prompt. Where in your life do you swim against the stream? I'll tell you what, for this one, I'm going to reference the band, because in all the years we've been together, it's 18 years now, so next April it'll be 19 years. In all the time we've been together, we've had a very different approach to a lot of bands, where we've done lots of different types of gigs. So we do your standard ideal gig, if you like, in a venue, doing your own original songs, doing your own show with a ticket on the door. We do those. We also do pub gigs where we get paid for the night, and that actually helps to make the albums. We do charity gigs, we do political gigs. We did like an anti-fracking gig, anti-racist gig, we do other kind of things. We do wedding gigs, we do function gigs, we did gigs for Specsavers, and you know, all sorts of different things we've done. We do community gigs. You know, we've done such a different variety of gigs, and quite often some of the bands I know locally, they'll rename themselves because they don't want to do covers on under the same banner as when they do originals and things like that. But we do it all. So with that, I think, is where we've been swimming against the stream, I think. And then the subgenre question for that is experimental fiction. What do you find joy in that's not books? And I know it's an obvious thing for me to say, but if I don't say it, it's just weird. It's just like I'm deliberately not saying it. And it's music. Music makes me happy in a very instinctive, spiritual way. You can't explain it. I think it's the closest thing to magic in the world. The way that sound can influence our emotions is quite crazy. So yeah, joy. Music gives me joy, and it's not books. So that gives me the answer for that prompt. The next bit is literary fiction. What is something you like to take your time with? I am generally impatient. So one of the reasons why I feel like it was such an achievement to write those novels is that it was a bigger project, and I thought I wouldn't be able to complete it. I thought we'd be able to do it. And writing a short story was easier. So I am generally impatient. But one thing that I do love taking my time with, and that's looking through bookshops and looking through record shops. I can spend hours and hours and hours in a bookshop. I can spend hours and hours and hours in a record shop, and I often do. If I'm with someone who does the same thing, then we're well happy. If I'm with my wife, she's like, come on, hurry up, you know. So yeah, bookshops and record shops, I can spend hours, and I like to take my time with that. And the subgenre prompt for literary fiction is, what is the meaning of life? And I'm going to refer back to something I said earlier. The meaning of life is make the world a better place. We're only here for a little while. We are part of a community. We are social animals. We've got no right to not do this. And it makes a difference if you do make the world a better place. You know, it has a knock-on effect. There is a domino effect to being good, to being selfless, to being considerate and kind and thoughtful. And that is the meaning of life. That's the only way to approach life in a meaningful way. So that's what I think is the meaning of life. Okay, the last one is poetry. So name something ordinary or mundane that you find beautiful or extraordinary. And I'm going to pick cartoonist style drawing. In a way, because a lot of people would probably underrate the basic elements of cartoonist style drawing. They'll say it's not worth praising, it's silly, it's not important. But I find it immensely enjoyable, beautiful, extraordinary, fascinating, wonderful, and life-affirming. There's something awesome about cartoon style drawing. So, you know, that is one of the things I love in life, and it's one of my big pleasures, and I find it extraordinary the way that these little characters come to life on the page in black and white. And then the subgenre question for that is, when have you created your own rules? And again, I'll refer back to, I've already kind of answered this question when I talked about the band. So yeah, so the Bemis definitely runs their own thing. The band is done in a way that's not like most other bands, and I'm kind of proud of the way that we've kept going. I'm proud to work with them. I'm proud to make the music that we make, and that's a very important thing to me. So there we are. This is an enormous tag. I said at the beginning it was enormous. Thank you so much for tagging me, Lekden, and please comment below on any of this. Some of it is pretty heavy, but I managed to say it, which is great. And there's some stuff on here that I have never said before on the channel. So thanks for watching. Stay curious, everybody. Of what it's like to be you. You sit up on your high chair